Hi everyone, today we're going to talk about beliefs and we've just actually finished the conversation, but I thought I'd better do an intro, so this is an intro. This is us just naturally talking about beliefs and the doubts we might experience and being vulnerable with it. Let's dive in.
I reckon a lot of Christians on a regular basis doubt the very existence of God, but they don't talk about it.
No, it's true, yeah.
They're too scared.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right, yeah.
Or they're worried what people might think of them, or they're thinking that no one thinks like that. They're thinking that every Christian is absolutely convinced that God exists.
Yeah.
But when I talk to people, they don't.
Right.
I have doubt.
This is where you've got more insight than me, because you've seen all these things. So
I have these type of conversations.
You built like a daily 10-year picture over time as to what Christians really are like. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas all I see is the sort of the plasticky stuff on Sunday.
Yeah.
So you've got a lot of insight really about what we are as Christians are like, because I think everyone as a Christian, like, we're all stuck in our own little box. We go to Sunday in our own box. We see other people in their box and we think we're unusual in our box. Because we're experiencing all these doubts and, feelings, and we sort of think to ourselves we're the only ones, but really it's happening everywhere, but no one shares it.
And in a way you kind of end up, not deliberately I don't think, but pedestaling everybody else.
Yeah.
Oh, look, they would never think that, or believe that, or do that, or behave like that.
Yeah. I'm bad for thinking it. Yeah. And then it's another sort of hit on your self-critic, isn't it? It's like your self-critic says, "Oh, I'm bad. I'm not meeting the standard."
It's like it becomes another barrier, doesn't it, between you and connecting emotionally deep with people. You think, they're better than me, so I'm not going to want to connect with them.
Exactly.
And another barrier between you and God. Oh, God, you must look really down on me. Because everybody else, like, they've cracked Christianity and I haven't. I doubt your very existence. So, like, you must not really like me very much.
Yeah, that's right. And that's why this is the fundamentals of why we're doing this, I feel like, because we're at least exposing what we really like.
Those vulnerabilities.
That's it.
Saying things maybe that people aren't prepared to say.
Yes,
but like
that's right.
Speaking it out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely. Because I think it's, if you sort of think like how isolated it feels really to sort of be feeling those things. Because I think once you said to me that if you think someone's superior to you, you'll draw away from them. And if we're thinking everyone's superior to us, we'll draw away. And why do hundreds of young people leave church and stuff? Because they're experiencing all these things. They go to church, they can't see anyone else experiencing all these issues, so they pull away and don't want to go to church.
And then you get isolated, don't you? And then you're back into the box thing you were talking about. Like that once you're pulled away, you're then in the box by yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's it. So and then you just sort of give up eventually, I think. Like, it's just like, I can't do it, so what's the point, like, type thing. But anyway, got on a good flow there.
We could stick on the subject of beliefs, couldn't we?
Could do. Yeah, why not? It could be a bit of a vulnerable one, isn't it? Like, if church people see it ultimately, because it's a bit scary ultimately. Like,
but we do want church people to see it, because that was the very thing we were speaking about a moment ago.
Exactly.
But the tendency, perhaps, I think, is to want to hide, isn't it? Through fear. That you're hiding the honest parts of yourself. Because we feel, or I feel, that they would be judged. So if I say, sometimes I doubt in the very existence of God, I feel that I'm going to get a barrage of judgment from people. Well, how can you doubt his very existence? You've preached out the front. You've seen these answers to prayer. You've, I don't know, you've tried to convince other people that God's real.
Exactly.
So how can you do that and then doubt him?
I think for you, my guess would be is because you've seen the mess of humanity at its full sort of glory, or whatever the word is, like, as in, like, everyone comes in here with all their rubbish and sort of shares their rubbish. You're a lot more exposed to just the shit that people go through. Do you know what I mean? And so it's for you, it really is something that you're seeing all the time. So for you, it's easier to doubt God's existence because you're like, God, why aren't you intervening in this person's life, because you're seeing a lot of rubbish all the time. But yeah, I mean, that applies to anyone who just goes through a load of rubbish and you sort of like really, you begin to struggle and in your sort of belief as to whether God is there helping you out. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think like people's beliefs, they're not disconnected from suffering.
No.
So like I think that's often when you see a Christian and you think they're not that real, or they might be a bit plasticky.
Yeah.
If they've disconnected their belief system from suffering, because
Yes,
then they're like, oh no, it's not happening to me. No, God's protecting me. No, and then when some suffering happens in their life, they then pretend that the suffering's not there, or they deny it, and you're like, well, I can see the suffering, and then at that point their belief in the suffering is disconnected from one another, and then you don't get any humanity from them.
No,
because Jesus himself suffered, but he didn't disconnect himself from his suffering. He's like, I am tired.
Yes, that's right.
He would admit being in pain. If you're willing to take this cup from me, he's aware of his suffering. He's not disconnecting himself from it. He's living in it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, no, the suffering's an interesting topic because for me, I think if there's anything that makes me doubt God's existence, is the topic of suffering. Really, it's like, why is this happening to these people? It's like, surely you could intervene. You're God. And one of the annoyances I have with God at the moment, it feels like, is why do you stay so quiet? And that annoys me. Yeah.
Yeah. So somebody that doesn't have a belief system, so somebody that would say that they're not a follower of God or not a Christian, that's one of the biggest things that they would bring to somebody that has a faith that's a Christian, saying, yeah, but what about all the suffering in the world? And then Christians feel that they have to answer it with a nicely packaged answer instead of agreeing with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, that causes me also to doubt in the very existence of God. But we're almost a bit scared to say that to somebody that doesn't have a belief system.
There's the whole topic of apologetics, isn't there, where we've got all these arguments against these things, like, sin, Adam and Eve ate the apple and that caused sin, and then everyone's experienced suffering because of the sin is the general answer. But yeah, you're right. Like, what if we took a different approach and said, well, actually, I'm a bit peeved with God as well about that, but I still believe in him.
Or I want to believe in him. Sometimes I still believe in him. Because that, I think, is like, it's not a straight line, is it, of like, or even a upward trajectory of like, when I first became a Christian, I started believing in God, and from that moment I believed in him more and more and more and more and more, and now my belief is unshakable. Like, that's an ideal, but I don't think that's reality. So sometimes my beliefs have gone down. So like, for me, I think that the most I've ever believed that God was real was when I was 19 years old. Well, to say that to someone, they'd be like, what?
Yeah, that's right.
Aren't your beliefs meant to increase throughout your life? Well, I think that's ideal, but that's not the reality that we live in.
No, that's it. And that's certainly, I'm sure, not the reality of the Christians that have walked in this room. Like, I don't think you've probably seen many people on that upward trajectory. I wouldn't hazard a guess. Like, they're going up and down.
Or if they are, they're often not the people that end up in counselling.
No, that's it. Because they're probably putting on a front that they're going up, but actually in their inner life they're probably going a bit like this.
Isn't the story of the Bible like, it's not like this upward trend? Like, there are people that have doubts, or they question God, or they struggle with him, or they don't believe as much as they used to believe, and like they're battling, and like sometimes their belief, like Gideon or something, like his beliefs all over the place. He's looking for signs and confirmations and stuff all the time. He's not like, oh, I believe in God and my trajectory is always up.
No, that's right.
It was a guy like Elijah, or like ran away from God.
Yes, that's right.
Like, he'd had enough.
Even John the Baptist as well. He went to prison, didn't he? And there was that statement where, like, Jesus, are you really what we've been waiting for, or something like that? They said about. So there's John the Baptist. There was David, who had a rocky time of it in the middle, didn't he? With killing people and adultery and stuff like that. And so really,
and often the wobbles are people shouting out for God's intervention.
Yes, like
Moses, Abraham, Jeremiah, like the list is huge, isn't it? Nehemiah, or they're Jonah. They're wanting God's intervention.
Yeah.
And often, if he does intervene, it's not immediate. So in that non-immediate time is where it's you're doubting, your beliefs are shaken, you're not sure what's going on, you're desperate for a life with less suffering, and God doesn't appear to be intervening. Like these characters, like in the Bible that we read about, live through that. But it's almost like we have to be somehow immune from that.
That's right.
Or certainly talking about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like we should be on that upward trajectory as Christians. But really, if you look at the church in general, nationwide or internationally, is it on an upward trajectory? I mean, you do hear of like the Chinese church exploding, but are they really exploding? I don't know, or whatever.
But it's difficult to know about other cultures unless you're in it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
like I think if you spent some time in a lot of churches in the UK, like some are increasing, some are staying the same, some are declining.
Yeah. But what is the definition of success for church? Is it that they're getting bigger? Churches are getting bigger as a congregation. I don't think that's
I'm not sure about big churches anymore.
No,
I think you can hide really well. You get a bit lost in them. Maybe sometimes they lack the depth of relationship. Most of my closer friendships that I have in my life are not with people that are Christians, apart from you, John. But like, I'm not sure there's a huge amount of relational depth because we're trying to impress each other all the time, or trying to hide, or maybe we're not fully transparent. Maybe there's some shame in talking about particular issues or things that we keep back from people, and then you can't get the depth then.
No, that's right. Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Yeah. I think that's what I craved for most of my life, was going in a bit deeper with people. And it was only until I sort of started paying you for counselling, which it sort of helped me go in deeper at that, with you. Because and that's why I valued counselling so much, is because I was actually, for the first time, I was able to share whatever I felt, as opposed to sort of speaking to someone on a bit more of a plasticky sort of level.
Isn't that also a little bit of a shame that you have to pay for relational depth?
Yeah, it feels like prostitution, but for friendship.
I mean, that's a really strong phrase, isn't it?
It's quite a strong phrase, but that's sort of what it felt like a little bit.
With you.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, because I certainly felt that to a degree, because I was almost paying for the right environment to be
open and transparent honest,
and things
vulnerable.
Like that. Whereas I haven't really experienced that with anyone, even my parents, really. I haven't really experienced that. It was only since counselling I've started to go in a bit deeper with my dad and stuff. But I was continually trying to hide stuff myself, so it wasn't even. I'm not blaming it on everyone else. I'm saying that it was
you're taking on responsibility.
I was doing as well. I was trying to sort of not go in deep, not really talk about the real things of life, and I still don't really, even having gone through counselling and stuff. I still.
So what limits you? What stops you being emotionally open to mum and dad?
I guess fear of acceptance still, a little bit.
Because if you said you doubted the very existence of God, what would mum and dad say to you? How would they respond to you?
I think my mum definitely would give me a lot of sort of Bible stuff and just sort of...
a bit of a lecture?
Yeah, definitely. Oh, well, 100% a lecture. She's very good at giving advice. She loves to give advice. She would sort of go off for about 30 minutes on and just sort of say, remember what God's done here for you, you've done this, and I mean that's true. It's good to remind ourselves what God's done for us, because it's easy.
Would she share any of her doubt with you in that moment?
Oh, definitely not. No.
So in that moment there's a separation,
because
isn't there?
she would give off that vibe that she's never had a doubt in her life, and therefore I would separate myself and sort of within me sort of withdraw from her a little bit, because she would be giving me a persona that she's better than me.
So relationally you'd be doing this. So at the moment you open up and you're looking for relational depth with your mum by being open and sharing something vulnerable, she takes a bit more position of power and perhaps doesn't maybe admit some of her own doubt. And in that moment you separate. So the very thing that you're looking for, the opposite is happening.
Yes, that's right. Exactly. Yeah.
Fascinating.
Which is the irony of it. It's quite an ironic experience, isn't it? Because I'm desperate for connection. I'm desperate for vulnerability on her part. But often what she would do is give me a lecture and make me feel distant from her, and not say, oh, actually, John, I have struggled with that myself. I don't think I've ever seen her or heard her say those types of words before. So,
and like in a Christian environment, in a small group environment, I think there is such a desire to help people. I don't think it's like anything wrong. I think people are just trying to help each other.
Yeah.
But in doing that, sometimes the position of power is imbalanced, isn't it? Like you're trying to pick someone up out of a hole.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, sometimes I'm in that hole too.
Yeah, that's it.
And then in that moment you get connection.
Or getting in the hole yourself. Yeah, if you get in the hole yourself, you can...
or walk up out of the hole together.
Yeah, that's it.
Or remain in the hole together.
Yeah, exactly.
But feel connected.
Yeah, feel connected.
And sometimes it's okay to be in a hole.
So the question is it better to save someone from a situation, or is it better to get in the hole, the mess with them, and walk with them through it?
Well, do you think that people are... So I am looking for empathy, and I'm looking for acceptance.
Yeah.
I think if somebody always takes that position of, I've got all the answers, and they're trying to pull me out of where I am...
Yeah.
For a start, I don't believe them.
No. Yeah.
But then there's I don't feel like they're with me.
No, that's it. Yeah,
like there's a certain amount of unreality to it.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, and I think that's what happened with growing up with my sister. Really, is that I was very religious, very spiritual. I would go out on the street and preach and things like that. My sister started to get some doubts, I think, in her faith. We grew up obviously in the same home, going to the same church all our life. But she started to get some doubts. She was finding it hard, but she just saw me as this like strong Christian who loved to preach the gospel on the streets, and was just not with her in the mess. Really, it wasn't real.
In a way, you're demonstrating an inability to enter into her world. You're just lost in your own little world, doing your own little thing. Like for me, in that moment, you're demonstrating that you don't care about her, because you're not willing to enter her world with her in the mess and empathise and say that I struggle too. You're just staying in your own little protected bubble. And were you really okay?
No. I mean, I had issues going on, but I denied that they were there.
They avoided them.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I mean, I've always been a fairly good little boy, really, to be honest.
But good outwardly.
Yeah, good outwardly.
You were horrendous towards yourself. Always hammering yourself critically about your weak left side, always not feeling good enough, always not feeling that you lived up to something, but then pretending to the world that I'm this preachery evangelist giving out these tracts and that I'm okay, but internally, think of, I remember you telling me a story about kind of unreciprocated love when you were trying to get together with this girl, and there was a huge amount of pain in there. Kept all that to yourself.
Oh yeah,
didn't share that with your sister.
No, that's it. And I buried that emotion, and really that became the thing that made me sort of get more and more angry with God and more distant with God. But equally, I've got more realistic at the same time.
Yeah, and you're handing out all those tracks at the same time, and like perhaps your sister, and only she can answer this, but in the moment, what she's experiencing from you is you believing that you're better than her. Yeah. But you've got all this hidden pain. Yeah. That you're keeping to, you're not even sharing it with her.
No, that's it.
So in a way, she's being much more honest and real and open and vulnerable.
Yeah. By just being herself.
She's doing life better.
Yeah, that's right.
Because you're hiding it all.
She's being more genuine, ultimately. Yeah.
And is that I think that's what God's looking for. Yeah. Is for us to be genuine.
Yeah, that's
so right. Can we argue in those moments she was actually being more Christian than you?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. I mean, I'd like to pose the question, like, how genuine was Jesus as well? Like, maybe we paint him this sort of, like, figure with a white robe and a blue halo, blue, sash, like Jesus of Nazareth with the movie and stuff. But really, was he a lot more practical? Was he more vulnerable? I mean, obviously he was God, so he probably didn't struggle as much and things. But I bet you he was better.
But that's an illusion. He was God. He didn't struggle as much because he was also fully human, wasn't he? He had to deal with people rejecting him, despising him, people not being interested in him.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that caused some pain, especially when of his best. I'm sure when Peter denied him that third time and he predicted that it would happen.
Yeah.
You're telling me that didn't cause Jesus some emotional pain?
Yeah.
Well, if it didn't, I don't want a relationship with him, really.
No, that's it. Yeah, exactly.
I want to know that he feels pain too.
Yeah, that's it.
I want to know that he's human.
We need people. We need someone on the same level of us as us, ultimately, don't we? And I think that's what Jesus probably was like, more so than us Christians actually realise.
That why he came to earth? To show that he identified with human suffering.
That's right.
Well, then he'd have to suffer then.
Yeah,
and he did suffer, didn't he?
Yeah, and people were drawn to him in their masses, weren't they? So. You've said to me in the past, like, vulnerability draws people into you. So he must have been a fairly sort of vulnerable sort of person, someone who's relatable, because people wanted to be around him ultimately.
Yeah, and wasn't it at Lazarus's death, that shortest verse in the Bible, that Jesus wept?
Yeah.
Was that fake, crying?
Yeah.
Or did he actually weep?
Yeah,
well, if he wept, he was vulnerable in that moment.
Yeah.
How many guys these days do you see weeping?
Yeah. Exactly.
Not many. It's not like particularly relevant in our culture these days to see a guy weeping.
No, that's it.
He wept.
Exactly. Yeah.
I quite like that.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to identify with that.
Yeah.
Like, that's vulnerable. That's magnetic.
Yeah, exactly.
And if he was pretending, do I want a relationship with that type of guy?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No. No, that's good. Yeah, no, good stuff. No, so I think it's important to be just open with people, isn't it? And that's why we're doing these videos. Ultimately, is to show people that we have our issues, we have our doubts, we have our struggles. Yeah.
So if I said to you, "Is God real?" What do you think?
I think fundamentally, I believe he is real, but I've equally, I just feel like a bit annoyed with him at the moment, so I'm sort of like finding it hard to sort of really go for God like I used to back in the day. So I do sort of fundamentally believe he's real, and I don't think I'll ever go away from that because it's so within me, like it was rooted in there like from the beginning. And I've experienced him as well. I have experienced him like help me out. You know, I've seen healings in the past, like people physically healed. And things like that. Not that I'm healed. So that's a bit of a weird one. Like, God, what are you doing? You heal someone with a toothache, but you won't heal my left side, even though I've served you. So there's no loyalty points there by the look of it. So there's a bit of
anger there.
Yeah, a bit of anger.
Him,
yeah,
so
that's it. Yeah.
If he is real, you're angry with him.
Yeah, that's it. He doesn't seem to intervene as well, which does my nut in a bit. Because very much, like he does intervene. Sometimes you can pray and you get a car parking space, or you pray and someone gets healed or something like that. But then other times when you're really desperate for him to intervene, then he sometimes just stays quiet. And you sort of your logical head sort of says, why do you stay quiet? I don't get it.
It's difficult to reconcile, isn't it? If at the moment he's providing you with a parking space, somebody that's praying for God's intervention is getting raped.
Yes, that's right.
Or a kid needs bread and is starving.
Yeah.
And you get provided your parking space and they die.
Yeah.
That's difficult to reconcile.
Yes,
that's like, again, do I want or desire to believe in that type of God that will provide John Dean with a lovely, neat little parking space because he's prayed for one.
Yeah.
But then somebody that's getting assaulted, who's crying out day after day, is maybe they've got, I don't know, alcoholic parents that have pushed their limits and are abusing them and they can't control their behaviour and they're crying out to God every day, but they're still stuck in that environment. But he's giving you a parking space.
Yeah. That's it. But yet, what's weird is in the moment, I'm grateful for the parking space.
And you also believe that it's provided.
Yeah, sometimes.
And you're not even thinking about
No, I don't even. In a way, I know it sounds bad,
stuck in your own little world.
I'm not sure I even care about the person who's getting assaulted, because if I really cared, I would be sort of trying to actively.
Well, maybe you'd be praying for relief for those people rather than your parking space.
Yeah.
Which, in a way, and I'm similar. In a way, it shows the shallowness of our belief system anyway.
Yeah,
that we are much more interested in ourselves, aren't we?
Yes.
And life going well for us.
Yes, we want.
And avoiding suffering.
Yeah.
Than we are for anybody else that's going through suffering. We're not half the time. We're not even giving them a second thought.
No.
Or if we know them, we might feel sorry for them and then suddenly offer a prayer.
Yeah.
But it's unlikely that we're thinking about all the human suffering all at once all the time. We're just thinking we're trapped in our own little bubble of our own suffering that we're trying to get out of.
Yeah, that's right.
We don't really care a huge amount, do we?
No, that's it. I mean, I don't know what caring really looks like, really. But yeah, I think if I did care a lot, I would be sort of, knocking on doors or helping someone charitably. Do you know what I mean? I would be doing more.
Yeah, or buying a loaf of bread and feeding someone that's starving.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Which I do from time to time, and that sort of boosts my sort of esteem a little bit. Like I do.
You're being a good Christian.
I love. Do you know what I mean? I'm being a good Christian because I've got a homeless person a Big Mac or something like that. It's like I've done my job for the week.
Yeah.
But it's not that I would necessarily think that like at the forefront of my mind, but like really it does subconsciously. You sort of tick
scoring points.
Yeah, that's it.
Like God's pleased with me now.
Yeah, that's right.
But you might not have any kind of connection or relational depth with that homeless person.
No,
you've been a good little boy and you got your little tick, and God's pleased with you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Until you do something wrong, and then he's disappointed in you, and then like your relationships like up and down, dependent on whether you're a good little boy or a naughty little boy.
Yes.
Oh, God loves me when I'm a good boy. God doesn't love me when I'm a naughty boy, and then it's up and down, and like
and
that's exhausting.
Exactly, it's very exhausting, and the aim is to be a good boy all the time. But the reality is you can't be a blasted good boy all the time.
Yeah.
Like you think bad thoughts, you go down again, and like I think a bad thought, and then you go up again because you've done something nice for someone, and then it just it's very up and down, isn't it? Which is really it drives me nuts, actually.
Yeah, and
because
really
I want to be the best.
Orientated, isn't it? It's performance orientated.
Yeah. I want to be the best Christian for God. I mean, that's a good thing. But equally, he says that I need to have faith to believe in him. What I mean is that by faith we are saved. Is sort of the teaching of the Bible, not works,
performance.
But equally, in another bit of the Bible, it does talk about good deeds and how that is important. In James, I think it is, isn't it? So you end up sort of like torn, like do I like
a bit schizophrenic?
It's schizophrenic. Like one minute I'm believing that God's done it and I don't have to work for it, but in the next minute I'm believing I have to work for it because I've got to.
You're being a good boy, prove yourself worthy to be loved.
So you end up very confused, and then recently I'm just like hang my hands up I'm just like I'm done with it, man. I'm just fed up with the whole up and down. Like I just find it very hard, that whole thing. But equally, I still fundamentally believe in him. I don't think I ever stopped going to church, to be honest, because I fundamentally believe that he's there. But he does. It's recently just annoying me, and I'm not saying that's a good thing and people should follow my example or lead, but that's just
so maybe the throwing up in your hands in the air is that kind of moment of vulnerability where like maybe people that do have a belief system are listening to us and think they relate to that resonates with them, that I get stuck between like God loves me no matter what, and then the other half of the time I'm trying to prove myself and earn his love and be a good boy, and then when I'm a naughty boy he doesn't love me, and you're stuck in this up and down, and then every now and again you think no, he loves me, whatever, and no, he doesn't, he loves me, and then you're schizophrenic.
It's annoying. And then you've got the whole thing of like reading the Bible, so you feel like you've got to read the Bible.
The brownie points.
The brownie points. If you've read the Bible for each day, then you've done well. If you read the Bible through in a year and stuff, you've done well. Some people seem great at that, and I'm rubbish at reading the Bible there.
So you're somehow lower than them.
So I'm lower than them, so that's another, anti-me, anti-good boy type thing. I'm a naughty boy. And then praying as well is a good Christian habit. As the song, read your Bible and pray every day and you'll grow. So I feel like I must be shrinking because I'm not reading my Bible and praying every day. Then you beat yourself up. Your inner critic says, well, I'm obviously not doing well, and and like, but I want to do well, God, but I don't know how to do well because I keep not doing the right things. So you end up just getting very confused. Yeah.
Quite interested as you were talking then, I was thinking about Jesus, and I was thinking, yeah, but who did he choose to want to spend time with relationally? And the people that he was closest to were fishermen.
Yeah.
They weren't actually Bible scholars. They weren't necessarily the people that were reading their Bibles every day.
No.
Were they? They weren't reading all the prophets and the kind of all of the Old Testament teachings, the Torah or whatever it is. They weren't like dedicating themselves to reading that. He didn't choose those people to be his closest mates. He chose a bunch of fishermen.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting, isn't it?
And fishermen by nature are very raw, like vulnerable people. They're just themselves, aren't they? They're not trying to put on a mask. They're just like, hello, mate. I'm like, do you know, they're that type of people. They're not like, they're not trying to be all sort of nicey nice. So yeah, that's true. He chose those types of people, and not the Pharisees, not the ones with the Bible in their hands every 5 minutes. But equally, I guess what my head says is when you become a Christian, you've got to be better somehow.
Yeah, then there's this list, these list of things.
Yeah, so it's almost like you're saying to me that Jesus sits with the people that don't really care about him and talks to them. But of course, once they become a Christian, surely they should get better, is what my head says. Surely they should be on this upward trajectory. Surely they should be reading the Bible every day, praying every day, getting stronger.
Were they like that though? So when he was spending time with his disciples, they were getting into arguments about who's the greatest.
Yeah.
And he was putting them straight. He was like, don't fight about that.
Yeah.
Like, what's the point in trying to become the greatest? Like, I like become the least.
Yeah.
Like, and so he was often correcting them, wasn't he? And like Peter was cut off some soldier's ear. He was like, no, that's not the way. He heals his ear, or like, they remained quite fiery.
Yeah. And even after Acts 2, where Jesus had died, the Holy Spirit had come down, and they'd all got flames on their head and stuff, which is in the Bible. They still had their arguments and stuff, didn't they? Like I think Paul and
Peter were arguing, weren't they?
Yeah, that's it.
About,
they fell
like,
out.
Food and
that's
meat
it. Yeah,
and whatever.
So they weren't perfect per se, because surely perfect in my head says there shouldn't be any arguments at all. Like, but it's okay to be human, isn't it? It's still okay to have those imperfections, really. Yeah.
Well, and there was obviously Thomas. Who, after the death of Jesus, was still doubting.
Yeah, that's right.
And he needed Jesus to appear to him, didn't he? He was like, put your fingers in here in my wounds, and he didn't I don't know, lay into him.
No, that's it. I mean, I've got this sort of thing in my head which I just cannot get rid of. Like, I've got to be perfect for God, and that's the thing that has annoyed me all my life. It's like because I can't be perfect, but I'm always sort of striving to be perfect, to do the right thing.
What's the reason to strive to be perfect? So that he be pleased with you.
Yeah, I think so.
So it's like it's a nice desire, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, you're not doing anything wrong to desire it.
No, and I'm sure he sort of sees that and sort of says, well done, John, at least you're desiring it, even though you're not doing half the stuff you probably should be doing. Do you know what I mean? But I do put myself under a huge amount of pressure from a spiritual point of view that I'm not good enough for God, and I think a lot of Christians really do that. I think I've seen it a lot where there's a sort of you can see that they feel guilty, like it's all over their face.
Yeah, whereas, live under the weight of that guilt.
Yeah. Whereas I think a lot of non-Christians, I don't feel like they've got that same sort of guilt. I might be wrong, but they just sort of, just happy and content being themselves. So I sort of envy that sort of relaxedness in a way. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm always sort of like, I've got that guilt cloud over me, sort of like I've got to be better. I've not prayed today. I've not read my Bible. I've not given food to the hungry. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So it's an interesting thing, but I don't really know how to sort of break free out of that mentality because it's so ingrained. Yeah, for some reason, just the way I am, I guess. I don't know why it's there. I'm just like that. But I'm sort of someone who likes to adhere to the speed limit and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? Whereas most people don't seem to give a stuff, and I annoy people when I'm driving along the road going at 30, and they're sort of right up my backside. Sort of like. So yeah, I don't know. I've just always been quite a compliancy sort of person, but yeah, that's weird. But anyway,
but just trying your best.
Yeah, trying my best to do the right thing, I guess. But is I guess the question is following the rules necessarily always a good thing? I've seen the benefits of bending the rules in the real world, not necessarily in Christianity per se, but yeah, I think sometimes I can be very rigid, and I sort of envy the people that don't care about the rules as much, and they sort of, it seems like they get on a bit better. So I've gone off on a tangent, I think, but
yeah. So I guess there's some envy or jealousy of kind of people that appear to be more free.
Yeah,
I think like sometimes making assumptions is dangerous. Like, we don't really know, do we, how free a human being is or not. We can only assume by what we see.
Yes, that's right.
We can't see someone's internal world.
Yeah.
So you might sit here and think, oh, Gary's really free, but you don't know what's inside me.
That's
and I might sit here and think you're really free, or you might
Yeah.
sit there and think somebody that doesn't follow the rules is really free.
Yeah.
But and they might be, but they might not be. So
Yeah, that's true.
We don't know, like, somebody's internal world.
No, that's
and I
right.
think we all kind of, in a way, deal with things like guilt and shame, regardless of whether we follow Jesus or not.
Yeah.
But I think what you see, perhaps in people's body language at church, is that you assume or feel that people should be free.
Yeah.
But what you're getting from people's body language is the guilt and shame.
Yeah.
That they're not free.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, just as a thought, on Sundays, generally in church all my life, you sort of see the people at the front, they're all energetic and stuff. But if you look around and get a feel for the congregation, everyone, and look at people individually, their faces are actually quite sad. They don't seem that happy. But we're watching, very excited people on stage. But there seems to be like a gap between the people. A disconnect between that excitement and what people are really feeling in their lives. Which I just think is fascinating, really, more than anything else.
Yeah, and like we're probably not going to have time to explore it, but there's perhaps a danger that there could be, and again, this is my assumption, I might be wrong, but the people out of the front might be performing, just like if you go to a West End show and you watch someone performing, they're performing, that's not their real life, that's not how they get on with their mum and dad or their partner or their children, like that is a performance that you're seeing.
Yeah.
And when you're looking around people and seeing, I don't know, they look sad or they look angry or they look disconnected, like that's reality, because they're not in the need to perform. So you're just taking it in. But when you look out the front and maybe they're happy, that's perhaps the point in which you disconnect, because you feel like there'll be other stuff going on in their life.
Yeah, that's
which
it,
there will be.
Yeah, that's it. And I think for me, it's like what I would love to see one day in church is that people who are feeling sad and depressed and lonely and anxious standing there singing the songs, have someone come along and sit with them in that mess, as opposed to it being that disconnect. Like, basically what I'm saying is I don't like the disconnect. I would love it to be somehow closed. Human. I'm not quite sure how you'd do that, to be honest, in a church setting, because there is an element of performance, like people go on stage and you just have to go with it, but in a way, like, is there a way in church to close that disconnect between the people that are standing there singing words but really are feeling depressed, sad, lonely, suicidal, anything? Do you know what I mean?
Maybe there's a responsibility then on the people that are out the front, that are leading, that are worship leaders or leading the meeting, to be a bit more transparent and a bit more vulnerable and share a little bit more of the struggle.
Yeah.
So then you get the connection.
Then the gap gets closed, doesn't it, between the front, like perfection, because I think subconsciously you think everyone on stage is perfect, like everyone's on stage is a strong Christian, they've never sinned in all their life. It's the perception, the deceit, to be honest, in your own head, like it's wrong, it's a lie, but that's the perception.
Yeah, because sometimes you're out the front
Yeah,
this is where it breaks. It all breaks down, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Sometimes you're out the front leading.
Yeah.
Or you're out the front preaching.
Yeah.
And then you're then into the persona.
Yeah.
You're then into the mask. You're showing somebody else your lack of vulnerability, and then it's confirming it all the time, isn't it? So you've been in that position.
Yeah, I'm not saying, I'm not pointing the finger at anyone, because I've done exactly the same thing all my life.
But it's almost like reconfirming that message, because you know inside that when you've stood out the front, that you're not the perfect human being. So therefore, you know, those others out of the front are not either.
No, that's it. Yeah, exactly.
We've run out of time, John.
No, we've got to go. Yep, sorry, Good. Well, thank you very much, Gary. It's good to meet you.
An interesting one to explore.
Yeah, no, that's it. No, thanks a lot.
Yeah, good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you. Take care.
Thanks ever so much for listening in. Remember to hit the follow button to stay up to date for latest episodes.